Hello, everyone. I'm so glad everyone was enjoying my blast from the past, waiting for a star to fall. Song came on in the grocery store. My husband and I were there earlier today, and I was like, I love this song. I forgot all about this song. So I thought I'm gonna play it in the social because it is super fun from 1990 from the movie Three Men and a Little Lady. So it was the sequel to Three Men and a Baby. So yeah, anyway, so I'm glad you guys were enjoying it. It's kind of a fun little upbeat one. And I also enjoy everyone deciding on the scale of pickles how they are today. I know we had some cheerful chips, a few startled spears. I feel like I'm rabid relish, doing a lot of cleaning and all that kind of stuff today. Uh, so welcome. If you are new here, you can let us know in the chat if this is your first social, first time being here, maybe first time with Silk and Sonder. You can let us know there in the chat. Want to make sure that we set our chat to everyone, that little blue box. Want to make sure it says everyone and not just host and panelist. Zoom does have an obnoxious tendency to keep flipping back to host and panelist, especially if you're on an iPad or an iPhone. So just remember, if it does that, the only people that will see what you write are myself and my fabulous co-host, Jennifer. She is helping me out in the chat. She is coming to us from Texas, where it is. I forgot to ask you the temperature, but she said it was very, very hot, and it's hot here. I am here in Denver, Colorado, and it's probably 97 here. It has been hot, 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 and I know I saw a lot of you also talking about how hot it has been. So hopefully you're trying to stay cool. Maybe you're inside with some air conditioning. Thank goodness for air conditioning, savoring our air conditioning, right? I did want to point out really quick, page 39 is our currently page. This always comes in the middle of the month, and believe it or not, Wednesday is going to be the middle of the month. It's the 15th. I always like to set an alarm on my phone, put it in my calendar for the 15th to remember to fill out the currently page. And really, it's just things that it's just kind of a quick pulse check for things that you're loving, feeling, enjoying, anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, and planning. Some people really like to do this three times. They fill it out once at the beginning because there's three lines for each one. So they'll do it once at the beginning of the month. The second line is for the middle of the month, and the last line is for the end of the month. So that's kind of a fun way if you want to make sure that you work on this page. And yes, I had to put this sticker in there. If you want to read more books each year, all you have to do is abandon most of your responsibilities as an adult. I think that's excellent advice. So I like to just kind of mention this because a lot of times people will be like, what am I supposed to do with this page? And it's a nice piece too when you do your month reflection. So when you're setting up August and you want to look back at what did you do in July? This is a good page also to kind of take a look for those wins and challenges, those kinds of things. You can have another little snapshot there for you. So wanted to mention that so everybody knows what to do with that page 39 there. And then I also wanted to mention on Wednesday, the 22nd, so not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, Meha is going to do another live event, a live webinar. She's going to be talking about savoring summer, measuring your progress. She's also going to be doing some live demo. We did this last month as well, and we ended up going for 2 hours. Just so you know, it starts at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. It is free. There's no charge. Anyone can come. If you have anyone who you've been kind of talking up Silk and Sonder, want to have them sign on, be sure to share that link. Jennifer's putting that link there in the chat for you. I will be there in the chat and probably popping on camera a couple times. It's also a great time. Meha really loves doing kind of the Q&A. So if you have any questions about Silk and Sonder, it doesn't have to be just about the coach. It could be about the journal. It could be about, kind of what kinds of things are coming up. If you register, yes, Andrea had a good point. If you're not able to join live, just be sure and register so that you get a link sent. I believe it probably will be on our YouTube channel, but just know that that way you get the link so you can watch it live. Just know that, or you can watch it later. Just know that the chat is not there, right? So that's kind of the downfall, the downside of not being able to join live, but that's okay, right? Life is how it is. So we kind of do that. So Leslie, that's a great question. Definitely, that's a good question to bring to Meha. You can also send that question. She's asking if it's ever going to plan to expand beyond the U.S. Folks beyond the U.S. can certainly do digital. Our digital journal. I just don't think they mail outside of the US for the journals, but they can certainly join any of the Zoom. They should be able to join Zoom calls. I don't know. I don't think that that would be an issue, but they can't sign up for the hard copy journals if that's what you're asking. But you can also send those questions to hello@silkensonder.com and they can help you with that as well. So, speaking of just kind of going through some of our community guidelines, making sure that this is that safe and supportive space for everyone. I'm sure if you've been here before, you've seen these before. Also, we talk about redirecting those customer care inquiries to that hello@silkensonder.com. They can help you with those questions about international subscriptions, mailing addresses, updates, the digital journal, kind of giving you some information about that. Any of those kinds of things. And then ultimately remember that these socials really are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So again, if there's ever anything that we're working on that just isn't your jam, you can always just work on something else in the journal. You can also, if the music isn't your jam, you can mute that. If I'm not your my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning. So this really is your hour. Christine is asking, are there any sort of Silk and Sonder journals that can be used for men? There is a minimalist digital journal right now that does not have the flowers. It has all the same prompts, but it doesn't have the flowers that some guys may not be super into. It is only digital right now, but they are talking about if there is interest, they're going to kind of do some surveys and that kind of thing to see if there's interest in having a printed minimalist journal. So keep that in mind. And that also is a great question to ask Meha if you come to that social. So keep that in mind. All right. So this month's theme has been savoring. I have been enjoying how everyone is kind of talking about savoring different things, kind of what savoring means to them. I know a lot of times we talk about savoring when in relation to food, but it can also mean listening to music, savoring music there in the grocery store, right? And I did have to put a little bit in there about eating ice cream, right? We've been talking a lot about eating ice cream this summer. So I found a fun little eating ice cream and living life kind of little Venn diagram there. Just slow down. If you savor it, it'll taste much better. And that's kind of that sweet spot between eating ice cream and living life. I thought that was super cute. And then don't slide through life, savor it. Slow down, be kind, pay attention because this isn't going to happen again. By Carrie, quote by Carrie Fisher. And I am definitely wishing you all a Sunday that feels like a deep breath for the soul. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of savoring, is like that deep breath for the soul. So I've definitely been enjoying how we've been kind of taking that pause, taking that moment to really kind of dig in there. So we are going to work on our Savoring Mind Map. Week 2, we're going to do the Rosebud Thorn activity, and then we're going to do those weekly setup pages. So just a couple of things to remember. There's room for you here just as you are, sharing successes, sharing struggles, all of those things. We're here for it. And the way you feel matters. No emotion is bad or unworthy. We're here for all the feels, right? We're here to kind of talk about all of those things and kind of how things are going. So the other thing too, just to mention, sometimes the chat gets going pretty fast. We usually have upwards of 100 people here. So if it's ever too much, you can close out of it. Some people just completely ignore the chat and work on their journal. Some people like to hang out in the chat and talk with their friends, and they work on they kind of make some notes and work on their journal afterward. Again, this really is your time. So I want you to do what is right for you. There's no right or wrong way to join these socials, right? So let's dig into that Savoring Mind Map. If you've been with us, again, this is week 2. If you didn't get to do last week, that's okay. I'll show you last week's question if you want to do that one as well. You don't have to, right? You don't have to catch up. So this is just any place that's blank in your journal. Maybe it's the scratch pad or the definition. Lots of people like to use the back page to do this, kind of divided into those 4 quadrants. And really, we've been looking beyond the obvious pleasures and into sometimes overlooked experiences that have added richness and meaning to our lives. Each of our weekly reflections invite us to slow down and linger longer with what has nourished us. Maybe it's a memory or a ritual, a convenience, or a beloved story. So, as we're reflecting on this prompt, you're encouraged to carry it with you throughout the week and see what happens when you intentionally make room to savor it in your daily life, right? So, last week we were savoring the overlooked. This week we are going to savor media, right? Different forms of media. So, books, music, films, podcasts, photographs, and stories shape our lives in ways both subtle and profound. Explore the media that has informed, inspired, comforted, and accompanied you. Which stories, songs, images, or voices have become part of your personal history? What have they helped you understand about yourself or the world? So you might want to take a screenshot of this. I will go to the next slide that has the same information for week 2 on there. But again, if you didn't have a chance to do week 1, you can snap that. So thinking about, like music, I thought these were some nice graphics here. Music is what feelings sound like. Music is very important to me. I love music, associated with a lot of different things in my life. It's definitely, I've always got a soundtrack going. I know that's not like that for everybody, so that's okay, right? If music just isn't your thing. I also liked this quote: "A photograph is the pause button of life." So maybe if you've been taking some photographs, some things that you savor, a favorite photo. I didn't have a chance to take a picture and put one of my mom has been kind of going through her stuff, and she gave me this fun picture of me when I was younger, sitting in this in this mud bath that I used to I would make this like mud pile in the backyard and sit in it when I was younger. So she gave me that picture. But it's always fun because that was kind of my feel good thing as a kid. I had a special outfit I would wear to sit in the mud. I'll take a picture and put it, or I'll scan the picture and put it in Sonder Club so you can see it. And there's no friend as loyal as a book. So maybe there's a book that really resonates with you, something that maybe you read in high school or something you read in college, something you read recently, something you read when you were a kid that you just really kind of remember, and maybe it really changed your perspective. It kind of shaped how things are for you. So I'm going to play a little bit of music. I'll be quiet so that you can work on this. I'll kind of toggle back and forth between these two slides. Yeah, Savannah, it's super fun. So feel free to share in the chat any books or music, films, podcasts, photographs, any of those kinds of things, media-wise, that really kind of helped you understand something about yourself or maybe understand something about the world. So play a little music and then we'll check back in. All right. I loved reading everyone's thoughts about different books that they read, either as a kid or maybe something that they read, even a few years ago. Books definitely can be a way to kind of escape. A lot. I saw a lot of folks. We were talking about kind of reading when we were a kid to kind of escape our family and kind of go into some other family. So maybe it was the Little House on the Prairie series, or Anne of Green Gables, or those series. And some people, thinking about like the Babysitter's Club. I had the whole series of Trixie Belden, which was kind of a more edgy version of Nancy Drew, but I also had all the Nancy Drew and like Encyclopedia Brown and all those fun little detective things. So it's super fun to see different things that folks were remembering, and songs, thinking about different songs that folks have listened to that are kind of tied to memories, those feel good movies, and photos, really looking at photos. I think that's one of the things that's kind of a bummer now, is that we have so many photos on our phone, we never get to look at them. So my husband actually makes a yearbook for us through Shutterfly and through the Costco membership. And he, every month, at the end of the month, he kind of gets pictures from me, pictures from him, and kind of makes a few pages. And so we always have, and then at the end of the year, he prints it, and it usually has like at least 100 pages. But it's really nice because then it's like, oh yeah, we remember. I can actually sit down in the living room with a book, or bring a book to someone, and it's not, oh, here, look at these pictures on my phone. And I've seen some other ones. I can't remember what the name of it is. I haven't tried it yet, but they do these really cute monthly. They're kind of soft cover, and you can just kind of print out books. You can get an app on your phone, and you can kind of put the pictures on there, and it prints out these cute little books that you have that are kind of fun. And I think it's really fun to kind of have analog pictures. The Shutterfly, the yearbook thing that he does is from we have Costco membership, but we go through Shutterfly. Costco used to print them, but they stopped doing it. So, but yeah, and we have the electronic picture frame. Rev, we have a electronic picture frame. We just got one not too long ago, and that has been super fun to like upload pictures to. And then, like, a lot of times we'll just stand on the stairs and we're going upstairs, but then we notice the picture is changing, so we kind of look at that. So yes, Kimber's saying I could probably spend much more time on this prompt, and do that, right? This is a great thing. Maybe every morning or every evening, spend a little bit of time thinking about the photograph or the music, the song, the movie, the book, and kind of write that down. And maybe that's a good thing to just kind of keep at all week, just to kind of remember these things and savor the memories, savor the fun about those. So thank you all so much for spending a little bit of time working on that. We are going to turn to page 37 and work on our rose, bud, and our thorn. Always good to do again, time for a little more reflection, a little more savoring. Is it 36 or 37? Did I say that? Oh, it's 36. I'm sorry. That we never have the page number on the actual where the rosebud thorn is printed. So I always look at the next page and I forgot to update that. So yes, it's page 36. So we have, I like to start with the thorn just because I start with the bad thing and then end with the good thing. The thorn is that challenge, something that's frustrating, something out of your control, maybe something a little irritating. Mine definitely has been the heat. It has been so hot. It makes me not want to go outside. Or if I do go outside, we try to go out early in the morning. And I know a lot of folks are really struggling with the heat. And of course, here in Colorado, we have a lot of wildfires that are going on. And it's really hard for the firefighters to fight that when the heat is so intense. So that has definitely been a thorn for me. Our bud is something that's an emerging opportunity, something we're excited about, something that is fun, or something we're looking forward to. And so for me, my bud, we are taking, it's in 4 weeks now, our trip to Spain. So still looking forward to that. We've been looking for different things to do, keeping in mind that it probably will be hot there as well. So trying to temper our expectations of how many things we're going to run around and do, right, in the heat. But I think it will be super fun. And then a rose is a highlight, something fun, something exciting, a success that you had, something that made you smile. So for me, one of my sisters, I have four younger sisters, and two of them live here, but then one lives in Texas and one lives in Kansas. So the Texas one is in town, and we went and saw Masters of the Universe this week. When we were little, younger, that was her favorite show, and so we used to be tortured by having to watch Masters of the Universe cartoon. So the movie was out. So she and I went to go see that, and that was super, super fun. So that was that was my rose, that was my highlight. So feel free to share in the chat um, your rose, your bud, your thorn. And sometimes one thing is all three of those, right? It can definitely that happens sometimes, right? And that's okay, right? Because that just kind of goes to show us that sometimes something that is wonderful and a highlight is also a challenge, right? So don't be afraid, or don't be like, oh, this is weird, because it's the same thing for all three. It can be all three, right? So I'll play just a little bit of music, work on that rosebud thorn. Feel free to share in the chat, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. Oh dear. Oh, there it goes. My camera did not want to turn back on. So thank you all so much for sharing in the chat those rosebuds and thorns. I think it's such a good time to just take that pause and really just kind of think about what happened in that last week, kind of what was going on. I saw some folks, somebody passed a test that was like a 5-hour test, I think I saw. So good for you. Oof, that had to have been a lot of work. We've got some folks with, if some medical things that make things tough, or family members that make things, family members can make things tough, and family members with health issues can make things tough. We've got, some folks maybe their little fur babies are being naughty. So those kinds of things all happening. And so I just want to thank you all so much for sharing there in the chat, kind of what's going on. And I think it's good. Again, you can kind of see we're all dealing with all of them, right? We all have rosebuds and thorns kind of going on. So it's good to just take those few moments and reflect on that. So we are going to do our weekly planner. Hopefully I put the right page numbers down in there. Page 40 and 41. We are on week 29 of the year. Believe it or not, we are chugging right along. And I liked these two little graphics. The one says it's summer, let yourself linger over a good book, dine in the fresh air, assuming it's gotten cooler outside, wander without a destination, and marvel at the beauty growing quietly all around you. And then the other one has some thoughts for the week. Celebrate life, enjoy yourself, find the little stars in your day. Remember, you are free to pivot. Be the sparkle in someone's day. I think that's fun. How can you be the sparkle in someone's day? Have fun. Do it imperfectly. Do it anyway. Just start. So I thought those were some good words of wisdom there as we go into this week. We wanted to make sure to point out if you are in Sonder Club and you haven't had a chance to go to the how to section, a lot of times if folks are looking for inspiration, on different pages. So like expense tracker, mood tracker. So remember when you're looking for inspiration, there's lots of different pictures in there for like, how can I repurpose the expense tracker, right? Or how do people do the mood tracker? Lots of fabulous things in there. And you can also put your own things in there. So I think that is always something. So a lot of folks are saying they've gotten a lot of ideas from there. So I think that is perfect, right? Just a little reminder, something there in Sonder Club. So we are going to first think about how we want to feel. How do we want to approach this next week? How do we want to show up for ourselves? How do we want to show up for others in this week? So maybe it's either I want to feel or I am, and then kind of that I am statement. So maybe you want to feel empowered or patient, fearless, brave, authentic, generous, limitless, lots of words. It could be one word. It could be multiple words. It could be maybe it's a quote that you really like. Maybe it's one of the affirmations that you really like. I think Kimberly's asking, is better too vague? Well, no, I think better is okay. I think feeling better is, it's subjective, but that's okay. So I think that works too. Stephanie wants to be like Elsa and let it go. Also, maybe the coolness might be helpful, right? Some people say realigned, or I want to feel self-love. I want to feel mighty. I want to feel that spark. I want to feel like I want to savor things, all of those different kinds of words. And then, and folks are putting in the chat, quietly empowered. Ooh, like the Energizer Bunny, unstoppable. I love that. I feel like I matter. Feel like I'm moving forward, right? I love that. Just kind of reading some of the different things, feeling grounded, uncluttered, right? Calm. Definitely lots of good ways to feel relaxed and celebrated, focused on good things. I love it. So once you've got that word, then go down to those weekly major 3 goals, right? How are those goals going to support the way you want to feel this week? So it may just be one goal, especially in summer when it's really busy and there's a lot of things going on, and it's also really hot outside, so you're not quite as jazzed about going out and doing things. Maybe you want to focus on one goal, right? And again, it's just for 1 week. You can change it up next week, do something a little bit different. And how will those goals support that feeling that you want, right? If you want to feel calm, maybe one goal is you want to declutter a space so that it feels calm. Or maybe if you want to feel energized, maybe one of your goals will be to move your body more, because that's a way to kind of get that energy flowing. Or if you want to be a certain way, right? Think about how these goals can support that feeling. So you can always go back to your intentions page. We always like to remind you, go back to page 9 if you set those July intentions. Are you following those? Are you doing some things that are helping you realize those intentions? Are you filling out that monthly habit tracker on page 11? Maybe those are some things that can help you with those goals. Maybe you want to set those goals through the lens of savoring. Maybe you want to do some no goals, like no alcohol or no doom scrolling. no impulse spending, those kinds of things. Maybe you have some outstanding goals from previous weeks that you want to just go ahead and bring forward. Maybe you want to do some sort of a personal challenge, like a fitness challenge. So maybe your goal is every morning when I wake up, I'm going to do one sit up and one push up, right? And you're going to do that. That can be a fun goal to have. Decluttering, cleaning, self-care. And I really appreciate, Jennifer found this really pretty graphic and I love it because it says July is your invitation to pause, reset your heart, refocus your energy, and choose your direction for the rest of the year. So maybe one of these goals is going to be thinking about refocusing your energy. What does that mean? What does that look like as you move forward? Here's some examples of some things that folks have done. One person wanted to feel revived, and then they set a mind, body, and a heart goal. One person wants to feel motivated, and they actually set a read, write, move, and work goal. So they have four, kind of broke it up into the four little quadrants. One person wants to feel focused, so they have a left brain goal, a right brain goal, and I love this, a no brain goal, right? And the no brain goal is to do some house things, right? So those are some fun ways to kind of set this up. Maybe you want to do a decluttering challenge. And I put this little quote in there to remind us all, myself included, to be fair to us all. We are conditioned to be really mindful of landfill and unnecessarily throwing stuff away, to which I say your home is not a storage facility or the family museum, right? And I think I threw away a big bag of stuff when I decluttered and cleaned out underneath my sink, the counter underneath my sink. And it was one of those where I'm like, why am I saving this? Do I think it's going to turn into something else? Do I think it's somehow going to unexpire itself if it sits under here? And I know it's rough because it goes into the landfill, but it's like, oh, got to throw things away. Oh, good, Chris, I threw away a couple big bags today and felt so good. It does feel lightning to kind of let that go. So there's a little decluttered challenges from ordinary and happy. Maybe you want to set some goals about breathe, move, and notice, right? Or maybe you want to repurpose this section for some quotes or some movies or TV shows you want to watch, or 3 ways to beat the heat, 3 songs of the week, some topics you want to know about, any of those kinds of things. And I am going to go ahead and go through all of these sections on page 40, and then I'll let you kind of work on those because I think sometimes people, it kind of depends on what you're doing, how you want to set that up. So I'll talk about all of those, and then I'll go through all of these slides again as you work on it. Oh yes, Jennifer cleaned out the really good bags and plastic containers. Yeah, I have a lot of like, oh, but it's such a good box. I should save it. It's a really good box. Yeah, that can, and backups. Yeah, exactly. So it's good to remember with these to-dos, we're halfway through the year. The person you will be by the end of 2026 depends largely on things like the food you eat, the books you read, the chances you take, the habits you stick to, habits, the media you consume. Remember, we were talking about media earlier, experiences you have, the thoughts in your head, the environment you are in, and the people you spend time with. So these can be areas where maybe you want to think about those to-dos or those goals as we're getting ready to move into the second half of 2026. So here's some examples of some things that some folks have done. We've got morning and evening goals. We've got work and home, or these are to-dos, morning and evening to-dos, work and home to-dos, self, others, and house to-dos, just like a nice little list of to-dos, things that you want to do. And I also, a newsletter that I get had a really good tip about with to-dos, make 2 lists, not one, because when you kind of put everything in the to-do list together, they all seem like they have the same priority and the same urgency. So make 2 lists. List A is a growth list. So 3 to 5 items max, things that move the needle, things that get you to where you want to be. And then list B is the maintenance list, right? So you don't want to put things like, I have this strategic call that I need to make, or this hard conversation I need to have, along with things like reorder printer ink or schedule the dentist, because it makes them all kind of look equal. So having these 2 lists is something that she says can really be helpful. And it's the difference between being efficient versus being effective. You can feel very efficient when you get everything done, but were you effective? Did anything actually happen? Did the needle move? You want to be effective. And I really liked this quote about a lot of what feels urgent is actually just noise wearing a costume. So I'm very guilty of procrastination by doing things, right? So I do a whole lot of things and check a lot of things off, but I don't really move the needle. I'm not really getting to where I want to be, but I look really busy, right? So I think this is a nice reminder. I'm going to try. I set up my to-dos to have a growth list and a maintenance list, and we're going to see kind of what that looks like as I move forward there. This also can be used with the Eisenhower matrix, right? This is a really nice idea to think about those things that are important and urgent, important, not urgent, not important, urgent, not important, not urgent, right? Really kind of thinking about all that stuff on the to-dos that we need to kind of make that big long list and then categorize them into the matrix. Yeah, Andrew, I liked the idea of growth and maintenance, right? It kind of gives this nice balance of kind of what that looks like. And Jennifer's popping a link in the chat for the Eisenhower matrix if you want to get a little more info on what that looks like. Then below that are the habits and activities, right, which can kind of tie into the to-dos. These habits and activities usually are things that we want to do a couple times during the week. They don't make it into the habit wheel for the month because they're not necessarily we're doing every single day. But kind of those things that maybe I want to do just a couple times. So maybe it's a self-love habit, like prioritizing your most important tasks first. If you do the growth list, doing those things on the growth list first, logging off work by 5 p.m. or whatever time work is over, those kinds of things. Here's some examples of some things that some folks have done, like making sure that they get up at a certain time. Read lots of research that talks about how important it is to have the same wake up and same bedtime every day. Really helps your body have more energy. But things like hydrate, a lot of us want to hydrate, drink more water, get more movement in, those kinds of things. Yeah, how do we submit habities to the Webster's for inclusion into the dictionary? I don't know, but that would be a good thing to do, right? Would I get credited for it for coming up with the word habities? Anyway, oops, so those are all those little areas there on page 40. Let us know how you're kind of setting this up, what you're doing with things. And sometimes when people go on vacation, that habit and activity, that habities section just gets a lot of stickers, right? It's just like, I'm not going to try to stress myself out with those kinds of things. So I will let you work on that page. Let us know what kinds of things you're doing, and then we'll check back in and we'll move on to the next page. Oh my gosh, what is my camera? My camera is being so obnoxious tonight. Does not want to turn back on. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing in the chat what kinds of things you're putting in here. I loved someone was talking about they went in and curated their Instagram and Facebook feed, unfollowed a lot of stuff, followed things that were more happy and more fun. They kind of went from that doom scrolling to bloom scrolling, which makes life a lot easier. And really, the algorithm will get trained on what you like and what you want to see, and then it will keep feeding you those things, right? So, like cat videos, if you like a lot of cat videos like me, you get lots of fun little cat videos. Yeah, so bloom scrolling is much more fun than the doom scrolling, although you can spend a lot of time sometimes on that. So, if you're like me and you're still kind of trying to set that timer for your phone, just be mindful that you don't like, oh, I can spend an extra 30 minutes on here because I'm bloom scrolling, right? But yeah, and social media, while it can be fun, right, it's not always feeding our minds. So I try to give myself a limit on the time that I do that. And then I will also go read a nice book or go for a walk or go talk with someone or go to brunch with my knitting group, right? Those kinds of things that are give us a little more brain food, right? So let's move over to page 41 now, and we'll kind of see what kinds of things we want to do. We've got a meal plan, a mind body health plan, and a shopping list. So kind of give you some ideas for different things to do here. The meal plan, of course, you can use it to plan the meals that you want, or you can use it to track what you're wanting, what you're eating. A lot of people say, oh, well, I already have like an app or something that I do that in, so I don't need that. So it's a lot of space. So lots of different ideas for things to do. Maybe you want to do some doodles, like this person has some fun kindness quote doodles that they put in here. Maybe this is where you write the daily affirmations that you get on the Sonder Club app. You want to write those down. Maybe you're keeping track of my week in reading, kind of keeping track of what kinds of things you're reading. Maybe you want to, as you're reading too, you can also ask yourself, what was the big idea in what I just read, and what should I do with it? Those are a couple questions that I try to ask myself. I try to ask myself like after each chapter, especially in the more like self-help nonfiction type books. It's like, okay, what was their main idea and what am I going to do with that? Maybe you want to do a decluttering piece there. Lots of different ideas for places to clean. I found the fun little beautiful things to do this weekend that cost nothing, right? A lot of us are trying to cut back on some of the expenses since the prices just keep going up, 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 and up. So I like the organize your tea drawer, spice rack, or bookshelves. That's kind of a fun one. Watch the clouds or the stars. So you could maybe put in one of these things for each day there. Maybe you want to, again, this person did some affirmations and they color coded their water drops. So if it was water, it was blue. And then maybe they did like black for coffee, different colors for the different kinds of things that you're drinking. Make a chore list, keep track of your appointments and your social. So it's coming to the socials, right? Maybe it's your wardrobe tracker, packing list. I definitely use this when I'm going to be traveling. I plan out what I'm going to wear each day. It so helps me not overpack. Super, super, super helpful. And then our mind body health plan. Here's some examples of some things that folks have done. Make a bingo. We do love a good bingo here. I like the fun one. They have keep it fun, and then they have different ideas for things that they can do that will be fun. Simple ways to turn around a bad day. So maybe you want to remind yourself of some simple things you can do if you're having a tough day. What I am loving today, excuse me, that you can kind of put in there each day. Monday was the early morning quiet. I love that idea. Some softer habits that stick. So things like long walks with hills rather than an intense workout. Or maybe you want to eat more whole foods rather than limiting yourself. Do be careful with there are some issues with produce right now and some bugs and things. So if you cook it or freeze it first, I think it kind of helps take care of those issues. Yeah, aren't those are cute little mugs? I like that idea. I want little stickers of little mugs. I think those are super cute. Maybe again, here's a bingo, 2026 summertime bingo. I had shared this in Sonder Club a little bit ago. I thought this was a fun one, especially if you're traveling. Mind body health plan. Again, with like they have different things that they did, enjoy a hot drink. So again, it's those kind of things that are good for your mind, your body, any of those kind of pieces there that you want to look at. And then our shopping list. It can obviously be things you need to buy. It could be a quote. It could be a reminder, an affirmation. I am worthy of what I desire. Maybe you want to remind yourself of some bills that are coming due. Maybe you want to do a social check-in with different people each day. You want to text, call, or face-to-face, and you have a list of your family and friends that you want to check in with somehow and who you're checking in with, kind of keeping track. Or if you're doing the pen pal stuff and you're writing folks letters, maybe you want to keep track of who and how many letters you're sending, or maybe you just want to do some fun doodles, right? This is a good place to kind of do some little doodles. And then the I am loving box, people are like, what am I supposed to put in that? Well, you can put all kinds of things in there, what you're loving, what you're enjoying. We just started watching The Burrows, which is on Netflix. 8 episodes. Unfortunately, they did not renew it. So it's only this first season. I think we get to do episode 6 tonight. So we're close to being done. Super fun, star-studded cast. I think they were saying each episode was like $10 million, which is why they decided they didn't want to do anymore. It was a little too pricey. But I always kind of put what I'm loving, what I'm reading, what I'm watching. And then I also found this fun little, some of my favorite things from a 70s childhood, because I 70s and 80s was growing up, and so reminds me of all the fun things from then. So those are different kinds of fun things to put in there. So let us know what you're doing with any of these sections here, with our meal plan, our mind body health plan, um, our shopping list, and a lot of bingos, right? Bingos are super fun to do, so you can always do that. I will play just a little bit of music and then we'll check back in and we'll wrap things up. right. Thank you all so much for sharing in the chat different things you're going to do. I love the idea of making a ta-da list, making some reading lists, making some bingos, some fun things to do. And again, sometimes you're like, I don't need to use this section. I'm just going to put some fun stickers in here. I know we all have lots and lots of stickers that would love to be stuck on some pages and fulfill their sticker destinies. So don't be afraid to do that as well. Well, I do not know how this hour always goes by so fast, but it does. And we are at the end of our time together. We would love it if you would share your weekly pages. People always are inspired. You never know who you're going to inspire. When you share those pages, and you see all of these have been examples from real life Sonder fam that we use here. So thank you all so much for generously sharing your pages. A reminder again really quick about Savoring Summer. That's going to be on the 22nd. Jennifer's going to be dropping lots of links in there. She'll drop the link for the YouTube channel where you can watch those socials if you happen to miss any. I will copy the link to my playlist and put it in there. And if you haven't had a chance yet, I did post in there when we had Bailey did a social on Friday night, and we made a super fun summer playlist and from everybody's suggestions. And you can actually share. You can, no, I can't find my little thing, but you should be able to go in and, where is my invite collaborators? You can add your own summer songs to it. So lots of people have been adding lots of songs to that one. So I love it if you want to take a look at that and play that. Otherwise, have a fabulous rest of your evening. Have a great week. Stay cool, stay healthy. Again, like I said, I know there's been some bugs kind of going around. So stay healthy, everyone. And Jennifer will be doing a social tomorrow morning. I'll be in the chat tomorrow morning. So maybe we will, quote unquote, see you there. All right. Take care, everyone.
It's like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song. I want more berries and that summer feeling. It's so wonderful and warm.